Hey everyone, welcome to our Gragas Full Gameplay Jungle tutorial. Before we start, let's first talk about his items and runes. Currently, this is the ideal setup and feel free to use it as your guide. For better understanding, I will explain the reason on why this is my personal setup. Going to the items, the first item that I would go for is Luden's Echo. So this could be replaced by Rod of Ages. It depends. If you don't have a front in your team, you could go for Rod of Ages. But if you have a front or someone that will go first, you could go for the Ludens for more damage and carry ability. Then the next item that we would go for is the Rabadon's Death Cap. This is a good item because our scaling is really good and it makes our poke and burst a lot higher. And then we go for the Ionian Stasis. We could dive in the enemy and then press Zonias to buy time for our team to follow up. Another alternative is that you could go for the Steel Caps or Merc Threads if you need a tankier front line. So, if you're really ahead, another thing that you could go for is the Protobelt Enchant for faster gap closing. So, you could go for the Protobelt third skill, Initiate. Or you could also use it to outplay your opponent. So, it depends on you, but the most basic and easiest one is the Ionian Stasis Enchant. Then the next item that we would go for is the Lich Bane. This increases our AP, since we already have a lot of AP with the Rabadons and Lich Bane. This has a good synergy with your second skill. So if you're able to do a second skill, third skill auto, the burst will be really high and you could possibly one-shot your opponent at this time once you complete your 3 items. Then the next one that I would go for is Void Staff. So this could be replaced with Infinity Orb if they don't have much magic resist. So Infinity Orb would be better, increases your burst. But if they have some magic resist, you would go for the Void Staff as it gives a high magic penetration. And then the last item that I would go, if this is a flex item, this could be either a Reflector, Banshees, or Infinity Orb. So if you want more damage, you go for the Orb. If you need magic resist, you go for the Banshees. And if you need armor, you go for the Crystalline Reflector. So it's up to you on what you would want to go for. Then into the runes that you would go for is Electrocute. You could make this Aftershock if you want to go for the Roa type Gragas, the tanky build. But if you're going for the AP build, Electrocute is much better. Then we go for Brutal. This could also be replaced by Gathering Storm, but I would rather get Brutal because this helps my early clear, since my clear is kind of slow in the early game. Then the next one we could go for is either Hunter's Titan or Conditioning. Hunter's Titan if they have a lot of crowd control, and Conditioning if they don't have much crowd control. Or you could also go Bone Plating if you're against Lee Sin Rengar. So you could have a bit of a stronger early game. Then the last one you would go for is Hunter Genius. So another thing that you could go for is Pathfinder, but I would go for Genius because Gragas' cooldowns are quite long and this helps him a lot in decreasing his cooldowns. And with that, I will see you guys in game. Going to the game, this is where I will teach you the tips and tricks, do's and don'ts, and advantages, disadvantages of Jungle Gragas. So in this game, we are up against Jungle Lee Sin, and in a Lee Sin versus Gragas matchup, this is favored towards the Lee Sin, especially in the early to mid game. So what we need to do here is to avoid the matchup as much as possible and try to go for the opposite scut. So if Lee Sin goes to the top scut, we go to the bot scut. Likewise, if Lee Sin goes to bot, we go top. The only time that we will contest Lee Sin and the Scuttle is when we have lane priority. And looking at the lanes, it looks like we don't have priority since Master Yi and Saya is not the best laners as compared to their matchups. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing a red side clear where I will go for my red, Krugs, and then Raptors, and then we can flex on where we want to go next. This is a safe clear, especially against Lee Sin, since what Lee Sins can do is that they could invade our blue. If they invade our blue, we just counter invade and try to force the first vertical jungle. So advantages, disadvantages of Jungle Gragas is that Gragas is a strong AP scaling jungler. If he gets his items early, he would be able to snowball the game. Disadvantage is that if he is behind, if you're 0-2, 0-3 early game, especially against junglers like Lee Sin, your damage will be a lot weaker and you wouldn't be able to burst anyone. You would need to go for a more tanky build if you are behind. So he's more of a feast or famine champion, but if you're not behind and you farm up your items, once you get your 3 core items, which is the Ludens, uh, Rabadon and Lichbane, this is where you could one-shot the opponent. So bot's got spawns, but I see bot is extended, so I go for the gank instead of going for the scut. So Jhin flashes, I flash back, I get a 2-man knockup, I get first blood, and that's just what you need is just map awareness. So you just because the scut is up, you don't need to always start it. If you see an opportunity gank, you always look for the opportunity to gank. So Lee Sin finishes a top scut, and I have a bit of a priority in the bot side since we're able to kill the Jhin. So I'm banking on my bot to try and help, but it looks like they didn't help. But our 2v2 is still a bit strong. I'm able to get a 2-man knockup, and Kale has a really weak early game as compared to Fiora. So we're able to get the 2v2 advantage. I'm also able to get the Scuttler, 2-0. Things are looking great. So here, I look for what we need. So I have a jungle support Shen, and I'm ahead in the game. So I opt for the Luden's Echo AP build. So what's good about the Luden's Echo is that it gives you ability haste, additional damage for your burst plus electrocute, as well as mana for more sustainability when in team fights. The weakness of Luden's Echo is that you're a bit squishier and you need to take care of your positioning. So I clear the top side. I have my top 3 camps. I look for the Scuttle. Scuttle is taken. I try to look for the Garen gank since it's a bit extended. Let's see if I could do a gank. Garen's a bit too fast, so I don't want to risk my ulti. So I just go back and look for my items. So one thing you need to take note with Gragas is that your clear is not the fastest, and you need a slow-paced game in order for Gragas to work effectively. So bot dies, my red spawns again. I try to look for the gank. I see Lee Sin and my Krugs, so I try to go for the counter gank. I take the camps, and what you need is slow-paced game. So even though your lanes are losing, you just need to keep up your farm. Since I have a good early game, getting a kill before 4 minutes is always good, especially if you're a jungler, because you could most probably finish your first item before the dragon spawns. So here, dragon is spawning in 10 seconds. I want to take my red buff first, and since they have a strong early game, especially with Brand Lee Sin, wherein we're gonna have a hard time in team fights, I always want to look at their positioning first. So I would only go for the counter objective. So once I see Lee Sin on the bot side, that's when I'll go try to contest the dragon. I can poke, but if I don't see Lee Sin, I'll probably start the dragon. I'll think he's on the top side. So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to look for a gank. I see Lee Sin. Okay, he takes Herald. So I go for the rewards. I'm a bit late. I'll be starting the dragon pretty late, but I see Lee Sin on the top side, ganking the Master Yi. So I start with the dragon. So this will be a 4v3 team fight. So even though my teammates are turning, I try to focus the dragon, and I want to finish the dragon before Lee Sin comes or the Garen comes. So Fiora forces the spell. I praise my first skill to try and zone the opponents. We take the dragon, but we lose 2 people in the process. I think we're also gonna lose our first tower. I see them chasing. I use my ulti to disengage. K lives with 1 HP, and I'm good with that because my playstyle is a bit slow. So I see their bot extended. Jhin is trying to push the wave, and I can probably gank this. I look for the E flash, which is something that you could do when playing Gragas, and something that you should practice when you want to play jungle Gragas, because the third flash surprises a lot of people. If people don't respect it, you could one-shot them. Because if I went for the flash E, it gives them a bit of a leeway to be able to counter flash. But if I use my third plus flash, it doesn't give them time to react. So here we get our items. We go for the top side clear, and I would want to try to take the top tower. We're a bit behind in the objectives. They're able to get some kills. They're able to get the first tower, but we're doing well. We're able to get clean ganks. So I just want to get my items. So what your objective here when you're playing Gragas is that you want to get your key items as soon as possible, which is your Ludens, Rabadons, and Lichbane. So after taking the Gromp, I see Lee Sin on the bot side. So I want to do a play on the opposite side of the map. I try to look for the Garen. I see he took the Scuttler. He extends a bit. And I know that there's no one here to help him. So Master Yi tries to bait the Garan. We're able to take him down, but there are 4 people making a play in the bottom side of the map, which means that I need to protect and defend the bot side, since I'll let Yi do his thing too and segue the top, and I'll try my best to buy time for him. So Lee Sin tries to get a Scud. I have my items and look at my burst. I'm able to one-shot Lee Sin from 3/4 HP. So even though my team is behind, if I'm able to get my items, I could still burst their squishy targets. And when I look at their lineup, they're all squishy except for the Garen. So I would want to combo everyone else except for the Garen. So I go back to my jungle. I farm again. So one thing about clearing is that you would always want to use auto attack before your skill. And when using your first skill, always wait for the max stacks, wherein the barrel turns red before using it, before popping it, because it gives a bit more damage. Okay? So here I cover mid, our mid laner disconnects. I'm able to get a bit of farm, and I want to know what the opponents will do next. Gragas has a pretty good wave clear with the Ludens plus first skill, can clear waves pretty easily, and they wouldn't be able to push. So Fiora is back. So I look for a gank. I see they're still extended in the mid side. I wait for my second skill. Once my second skill is up, I hit him. I use my ulti to put kill back. He flashes and force the ulti as well. So I'm able to force 2 flashes for nothing. But unfortunately, Fiora dies, so they get a trade. I look for the Jhin, but my third skill doesn't connect. Lee Sin tries to force. I have to flash in case he might kick me. Sai is able to get the Jhin, but Lee Sin gets a trade in return. So here I have my Rabadon, and when I get my Rabadon before the second objective, this is a good sign for us, since this would increase our burst potential, and most likely I would be able to one-shot them, assuming I hit all my skills. So I'm looking for the instead of going for the Herald, I just go for the farm because my team is down and I can't face check, since I'm more of using a more squishy build rather than using a damage build. So Dragon is spawning in 10 seconds. I try to clear my camps as soon as possible. I get the blue for more sustain as well as HP regen, and this would greatly help me when it comes to the team fights. So I want them to start the objective first because Master Yi is split pushing top. So I want to buy time for my team and possibly try to burst someone while waiting. So here, I use the burst on my Lee Sin. My combo hits, but I get bursted. So you have to be careful when you use your third skill, especially if you go in. If you're not able to burst the opponent, then most likely you will get punished. So I was trying to wait for Lee Sin to get a bit lower of HP, like 1/4 HP before I ult, but he's able to kick me into his team, and we got punished for it. They also get a dragon, and we're a bit behind when it comes to the pace of the game. So once I spawn, of course, we don't want to surrender. I think we can still do this. We're still a bit ahead in terms of gold from the regular pace. So Gragas tries to farm my Raptors, and see, look at my burst. From 100 to 0, we're able to one-shot Brand with the Electrocute, Ludens, and Rabadon. So Kayle tries to escape, but I misfly my ulti. I push her away. Luckily, she goes back, and we get a kill on her. So Shen gets a taunt. I look for my poke. So my Ludens plus first skill gives a really strong poke. And now, since I have Rabadon now, I have double damage with my poke. And then once I complete my Lich Bane, I'll have even more burst damage. And you will see later when it comes to the team fights. So here, I just want my team to farm and get their items. I want to get my Lich Bane also. So they use the Herald mid. I have to cover. I try to look for someone to catch. I do another E flash into the Jhin. We easily burst him. And we're able to protect the... even though we're not able to protect the tower, we're able to stop the push from the opponents. So I go around. I try to look for another catch. Kayle is extended. I have my ulti or my third skill. I use my first skill. I use my ulti. Kayle is in a bad position. I force her ulti. And we get her down. So all good. We're a bit extended. But I see Lee Sin in the mid lane. I see Garen in the bot. So no problem for us. So Lee Sin is 1 HP. I want to try to burst, but he's able to get the fruits, so we just go back. I think in this point we have our Lich Bane. Yes, our Lich Bane is now up. And here you will see how strong AP Gragas is. Even though the score is 12 to 13, I have a lot of kills, and the 3/4 of my team's kills are all on me, so it's up to me to try to carry this game. So looking at the scoreboard, our Master Yi is able to get some farm. All he's doing is split push, and I can handle the team fights. So I clear my jungle again and look for another play. So level 13, once I get my level 13, this will even increase my burst. I'm not able to get a Scud. But what you want to do as Gragas is you always want to look for people to try an ulti. So Lee Sin forces the ulti. We're able to trap them. I use my ulti. Miss angle, but my burst with my Lich Bane plus Ludens plus Electrocute, I'm able to easily burst Brand even though he's at half HP. So when playing Gragas, one tip that I would want to share to you guys is your ulti. Your ulti is the safest playmaking ability in the game. So you don't have to be beside your enemy in order to make a play. So all you need to do is practice on the skill shot of your ulti, on when to use it to engage, when to use it to disengage, or when to catch your opponent and bring them to your team. So that's the 3 things that you need to do with your ulti. So as you can see, I'm always looking for opportunities. If they overextend, I always try to bring them to my team. And when they're out of position, I can easily burst them. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking the red buff. While looking at the map, Dragon is spawning in 15 seconds. I see Lee Sin in the side lane. I see him, he has Edge of Night, and I want to proc it. I use my lens so I can see if people are inside the bush. And then I farm bot. I see Jin's trap. So I back away. It means that they're in that area. Dragon spawns, and we do a play wherein, since we're out of position, we try to bait the Baron. We're able to get the Lee Sin, and we're able to burst. We're able to bait the Lee Sin and get the kill. So this is a huge advantage for us since they don't have a jungler, but they're able to take the Dragon. I look for the play. I could have E-flash there, but I miscalculated a bit. I thought my 3rd skill would hit. And here, we just buy time for our E to push. So our Garen is pushing bot. Our E is pushing top. And I would want to what I'm doing here is I'm trying to stop the ports. I could easily kill. I have my ulti. He flashes my ult. But we force the ulti. We get a tower. So a 1-for-1 tower trade in the tops. They get our bot tower. We get their top tower. So it's a even trade. And we get 2 kills as well. So 3-4-2 plus a tower trade. And for me, this is good for us because once Elder spawns, they need someone to stay top side to try to defend the minions, and Master Yi would probably push there. Meanwhile, even though they're pushing our bot side, we have Shen, wherein he could easily ulti and try to help our team when it comes to the team fights. So I'm trying to get Scuttle even though there's a clash on mid, just in case Saya dies, so I have vision on the Dragon. So Lee Sin, I see him, I put him back. He's out of position. We get the jungler out. Garen's still a bit tanky, so I look for the poke. I see Kayle in the front line. Let's see if I could reach. She gets the ulti out. I use my first skill for the slow, and I have my E-flash to catch the Kayle out. But meanwhile, my teammates died and I'm the only one left, so I use my first skill to try and buy time for the Jhin. I don't want to TP in the bush because he's chasing me. I dodge the second skill and we go home safely. So what I'm looking for here is probably I could turn. I have blue buff. And the item that I'm going for here is the Infinity Orb because I would want to increase my one-shot potential since most of the money of my team's gold is on me. So this increases my damage, especially against squishy targets. So I could, in this spot, I could one-shot everyone except for Garen if I'm able to get my combo off. Second, third, auto first should be enough to burst down their carry. So Master Yi tries to force bot side. I look for the drag sa Baron, but my team is out of position. So I just try to take their camps. So here, I look for someone who wants to face check. I use my second skill, and in case someone goes close, I could burst them. Lee Sin gets a good first kill, anti-phase check, and spots me. So looking at the mid side, I want to get mid prio. I want to poke them a bit. Lee Sin forces a Sai ulti, which is good for them, but I still have my skills. So if they start the Baron, I have a lot of poking tools, and I could steal it as well if I use my ulti plus my combination. So I see them, they try to get our Fiora. I protect my team, I get the Jhin back. I catch them off guard. We're able to get the Jhin, and I think they're at the Baron right now. Yes, they take the Baron, but what we're doing here is trying to get the kills. So we don't want them to TP. I see Master Yi pushing top. I try to buy time as much as possible. I Zhonya's. I try to take the Lee Sin, but they're able to kill me. Meanwhile, Master Yi tried to end the game, and there, we were able to buy enough time for Yi to end the game since he is on a split pushing build. So hope you guys enjoyed our tutorial, and I will see you guys next time. Before I go, there are 3 tips that I would like to share with you when playing Gragas. My first tip is using his ultimate. His ultimate is the most important spell, and it can make or break your team. As I said earlier, his ulti can be used to engage, disengage, and pick off enemy carries. It is the safest game-winning spell since it doesn't require you to go close to your opponent. It may be hard to use at first, but with practice, it will become easier to make a game-winning play. My second tip is his cooldowns. Since Gragas' cooldowns are quite long, you need to use his combos efficiently. Try to kite when your skills are in cooldown. As much as possible, always try to catch the squishy targets since they can be bursted, especially in the late game. Third plus flash is a great way of catching them off guard in order to win the game. My third tip is his early game. Gragas has a slower early game as compared to other meta junglers. It is important that you don't fall behind, so you have to play smart. Gragas shines once he completes 2 to 3 items, and this is the time where you could burst enemy carries. With that, try to play a controlled early game by farming as efficient as possible. And that is it. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe in order to see more content. Feel free to leave a comment if I missed anything and what champion you would like to see next. Thanks for watching. Ciao ciao!